In 1956 Chicago, a master tailor spends his days carefully measuring fabric and stitching suits for some of the city's most dangerous men. He claims to be a simple craftsman who left a tragic past in London behind to find a quiet, honest life in America. But when a brutal mob war spills right into his shop on a snowy night, the world finds out that this quiet tailor is actually the most dangerous guy in the room.
It was work.
In the heart of the city, Leonard Burling runs a modest custom tailor shop. He's a man of immense discipline, having spent years as an apprentice at an elite fashion house on Savile Row. To Leonard, there's a massive difference between being a tailor and being a cutter. Anyone can sew a button, but it takes a master to truly understand the fabric and the person wearing it. Leonard's shop sits in a neighborhood controlled by the Irish mob, led by a powerful boss named Roy Boyle. Since Leonard's work is the best in Chicago, the Boyles are his most loyal customers. However, the relationship goes way beyond professional. The mob uses a mailbox inside Leonard's shop as a stash house for dirty money and secret messages.
Hunched over like a midday clock, or does he stand with confidence? Is this a man of springtime pastel, or is this a man of grey and brown? Is this a man comfortable in his station?
Leonard tolerates this arrangement with a calm, focused demeanor. He stays out of their business, even when Roy's hot-headed son, Richie, and his ruthless chief enforcer, Francis, come by to collect their illegal earnings. Leonard's only assistant is a young woman named Mabel, who works as the shop's receptionist.
What's in the box?
That one's mine.
Let's have a look. No, let me guess. The Leaning Tower of Pisa.
I've never understood the appeal.
The Eiffel Tower. Well, then I give up.
Mabel is a dreamer who spends her time collecting snow globes of world landmarks like London and Paris. She hates the violent life in Chicago and is desperate to travel the world to escape the shadow of the mob. Even though Leonard hopes she might one day take over the shop, Mabel makes it clear that she's never going to be a tailor.
One way or another, I'm getting out of here.
To London?
And Madrid. And Morocco.
Speak of the devils.
Making things even more complicated, Mabel is romantically involved with Richie Boyle. Leonard notices the subtle signs of their flirting and warns her to be careful, knowing exactly how dangerous Richie's family can be. Mabel dismisses his concerns, claiming she's been around guys like Richie her whole life and knows how to handle them by pretending to be one of them.
I do not need you telling me who to date.
I didn't mean it like that.
Do we let all of our customers keep black boxes in back?
It was you who was smiling at
Spent
me.
my entire life around animals like Richie Boyle. Look 'em dead in the eyes and you pretend you're one of them.
The tension in the city is rising because of a rival mafia group known as the La Fontaines. Francis is convinced there's a rat within the Boyle organization who's leaking information to their enemies. One evening, Richie and Francis retrieve a mysterious package from the shop's mailbox sent by the outfit, a massive nationwide criminal syndicate. This package contains a cassette tape that supposedly holds the identity of the traitor. Later that night, things take a violent turn when Francis and a badly wounded Richie burst back into the shop. Richie has been shot in the stomach during an ambush by the La Fontaines, and the mobsters have nowhere else to hide.
Trouble.
Is anybody else here? Come on, English.
Fucking hurts.
It hurts because there's a hole in your stomach. Blue boys out there hunting for this.
Blood.
Push harder.
The wound needs to be sealed.
Oh, are you a doctor now,
I
too?
was in the war.
Sew him up.
What? It's not the same.
Sew him up.
At gunpoint, Francis orders Leonard to use his tailoring tools to sew up Richie's gunshot wound. Leonard protests, explaining he's not a doctor, but Francis doesn't give him a choice. With steady hands and no anesthesia, Leonard successfully stitches the wound, stopping the heavy bleeding just as Richie loses consciousness.
You'll be okay.
Francis is desperate to listen to the tape in the briefcase they brought, but they don't have a cassette player. He decides to leave Leonard alone with the dying Richie while he goes out to find a way to play the recording. Before leaving, he warns Leonard that the FBI and the LaFontaines are all hunting for that briefcase.
If I can find a machine to play this tape tonight, your friend Mr. Boyle will be here in 3 hours. Because if I get back and that tape isn't sitting right there, welcome to the family.
While Francis is gone, Richie finally wakes up, his voice sounding weak as he thanks Leonard for saving his life. Leonard brings him some water and starts to subtly mess with the young mobster's head. He mentions that Francis is dead certain there's a rat in the family, and Leonard suggests that the traitor is probably someone very close to the Boyles. In a cold, calculated move, Leonard leans in and tells Richie that he's the rat who's been feeding information to their enemies. Richie just stares at him for a second before busting out laughing. He completely dismisses the idea because he sees Leonard as nothing more than a harmless, old Tailor. Leonard laughs right along with him, but he's already planted that seed of doubt about the people Richie actually trusts.
I'm not a tailor. I'm a cutter.
Why'd you come here then?
The war. I came to a place with bitter history.
Leonard then shifts the conversation toward Francis, pointing out that Francis's obsession with finding a rat might just be a cover for his own guilt. He mentions how convenient it was that Richie was the only one who got hit during the ambush, while Francis walked away without a scratch. By the time Francis gets back to the shop with a cassette player, Richie is already looking at his partner with a lot of suspicion.
He said before he was the one looking for the rat, if he was the rat himself.
Before the two mobsters can even talk, Leonard pulls Francis aside and lies to him, claiming that Richie has been acting delusional and already looked inside the briefcase. He tells Francis that Richie now thinks he's the traitor. This double-sided manipulation basically turns the two men against each other, making the back room of the shop feel like a pressure cooker.
Why don't I go with you?
No. You're in no shape to be out there.
So you want to walk out of here with this tape alone? Is that right?
That's right.
Francis is itching to play the tape right away to clear his name, but Richie isn't having it. Richie insists they have to wait for his father, Roy, to get there before anyone hears that recording. He accuses Francis of trying to hide the truth from Roy, and the whole thing quickly turns into a physical fight over the briefcase. During the struggle, the briefcase flies open, and both guys are stunned to see that it's completely empty. They immediately start blaming each other for stealing the tape. Richie pulls his gun, fueled by years of resentment toward Francis, who he sees as some outsider who came in and stole his father's affection.
You don't want to work for my pops.
There's no need for this
I
fighting.
took 6 marbles to save your father's life because...
I run this crew. You want to see me make a mess?
The confrontation hits a breaking point when Richie's focus slips for just a second. Francis takes the opening and fires, hitting Richie right in the neck and killing him on the spot. Francis stands over the body and coldly tells the dead man that he died because he was weak.
You didn't die because you're dumb or because you're slow. It was because you're weak.
Leonard watches the whole thing in horror as the mob boss's son lies dead on his floor. Francis starts frantically tearing the shop apart looking for the missing tape, but he doesn't find a thing. Just as he starts to panic, they hear a car pull up outside.
Open the trunk.
What? What you gonna do with him?
Roy Boyle has arrived with his bodyguards to find his son. Francis realizes that if Roy sees Richie's body, they're both as good as dead. He forces Leonard to help him stuff the corpse into a large fabric trunk and tries to scrub the blood off the floor before opening the door. When Roy finally walks in, Leonard greets him with a calm face, acting like it's just another normal night.
I'm not gonna forget what you're doing for my crew.
I'm at your service, sir.
Where are the boys?
Roy Boyle walks into the shop and thanks Leonard for his loyalty, appreciating him for looking after the family during such a rough night. Francis, looking visibly rattled, quickly cooks up a story to cover for Richie's disappearance. He tells Roy that Richie got impatient and took off with the tape to find Roy himself. Roy is clearly on edge, worried sick about both his kid and that sensitive recording that could blow his whole operation wide open.
I want you to call me back here every quarter hour.
While Roy waits in the shop for things to settle, he starts talking to Leonard, asking why a talented master from Seville Row would ever pack up and move to a place like Chicago. Leonard sticks to his script, claiming that the rise of cheap blue jeans in London basically killed the market for high-end suits. Roy laughs it off, but his eyes are constantly scanning the room. He eventually fixates on Leonard's fabric shears, comparing his own gun to Leonard's tools, noting that both are used to shape the world around them. Roy explains just how high the stakes are with that missing tape. It turns out it was provided by the Outfit, a massive national crime syndicate that Roy is desperate to join. The recording is a copy of an FBI wiretap, and if it gets out, Roy's dreams of moving up to the big leagues are over. Leonard plays dumb, questioning why a powerful boss like Roy is sharing top-level secrets with a guy who just makes clothes.
This tape, everyone's.
That tape gets into the wrong hands, and the entire thing comes crashing down.
Why are you telling me all this?
Because that's Richie's coat.
But Roy's got that fatherly intuition, and it's sharp. He spots Richie's coat still hanging in the back room and knows his son would never have headed out into a Chicago winter without it. Realizing Leonard is holding out on him, Roy has his bodyguard, Monk, put a gun to the Tailor's head, demanding to know where Richie really went. Leonard, backed into a corner, mentions that Francis had warned him to keep his mouth shut if he wanted to stay alive.
He said he'd kill me if I told you.
Who?
Francis. What really happened to Richie?
Before things get bloody, Francis comes back to the shop, but he's dragged Mabel along with him. He claims he found Richie's blood in her apartment and accuses her of being the rat. Francis tells Roy that Mabel was using her thing with Richie to feed info to the LaFontaines. Leonard tries his best to stick up for her, but Roy and Francis ignore him and drag Mabel into the back to beat the truth out of her.
Mr. Boyle, please.
I'm sorry. We'll clean up after.
Seeing the situation falling apart, Leonard shifts gears to distract Roy. He tells the mob boss that he knows what it's like to lose a child. He finally comes clean and says he didn't move to Chicago because of jeans. He moved because his wife and daughter were killed in a fire that leveled his shop in London. He explains that he looks at Mabel like his own daughter and can't just stand by and watch her get hurt.
Mr. Boyle, you can hurt young Mabel. You can kill any one of us, but it won't find your child.
Go get it.
The heavy tension is broken by the shop's phone ringing. Leonard picks it up and lies through his teeth to the group, claiming the caller is actually Richie. He tells Roy that Richie is hiding out from the LaFontaines at a specific address and needs a pickup right now. Relieved and desperate to save his kid, Roy takes off with his crew, leaving Francis behind to keep an eye on Leonard and Mabel.
Maybe I should wait back, keep an eye on them, huh? You really want to trust Richie's life? If the devil himself came crashing through the roof.
All right. Make sure they don't go nowhere.
Once Roy and his crew clear out, the vibe in the shop shifts from pure fear to a cold, calculated game of survival. Leonard finally drops that humble Tailor act and lets the real truth fly. He deliberately sent Roy straight into a death trap. He tells a stunned Francis that the address he gave Roy actually belongs to the LaFontaine family, and they're sitting there right now waiting to wipe the Boyles off the map.
With what do I need her assistance?
About to walk directly into an ambush.
But Leonard isn't done dropping bombs. He reveals the biggest secret of the night. Mabel really is the rat. Having grown up around guys like the Boyles, she'd been playing them the whole time, selling their secrets to the LaFontaine family to get the cash she needs to get out of Chicago. To keep her bases covered, she even worked with the feds, letting them bug Leonard's shop so they could record every dirty move the mob made.
The Outfit. They told the Boyles about the bug. You told LaFontaine. And hoped that they would all kill each other before they found you.
You got your hustle.
You were the fucking rat?
Spent my entire life watching you leeches. I am gonna love sitting in a cafe in Paris, reading all about your funeral.
Francis loses it and demands to know where the hell that tape is. Leonard admits he's the one who swiped it from the briefcase earlier in the night, mostly to keep Mabel from getting caught immediately. But Leonard still has one more move to make. He offers Francis a deal that would let the enforcer survive the night and take over the whole Boyle operation for himself. He convinces Francis that Roy is a dead man walking at this point. If Francis plays it smart, he can step right into the power vacuum Roy leaves behind. On Leonard's cue, Mabel calls up Violet LaFontaine, the boss of the rival crew, and offers to sell her that FBI recording.
LaFontaine wants to make a deal.
I didn't know you spoke French.
She gives Violet the shop's address to make the trade. Francis goes along with the plan, but he's already planning to double-cross everyone. He slips into the back of the shop with his gun, waiting to jump out and take Violet LaFontaine out the second the money changes hands. Leonard and Mabel get ready for the rival mob to show up, knowing the final act of this whole mess is about to go down.
He's gonna kill us too.
When Violet LaFontaine shows up with her muscle, you could cut the tension with a knife. She hands Mabel the cash and takes the tape, thinking she finally has the leverage to bury her enemy. But just as Francis is about to make his move, Leonard quietly tips Violet off that there's a gunman in the back. Before Francis can even get a shot off, Violet's bodyguards move with professional speed and light him up. Leonard then reveals he'd already emptied the bullets from Francis's gun, leaving him completely defenseless. The LaFontaines take off with the tape, leaving Mabel with her payday and Leonard standing in a shop full of bodies.
I'm not a tailor. I'm a cutter.
With the LaFontaines out of the way and the shop littered with the remains of the Boyle crew, Leonard finally reveals the last piece of the puzzle to Mabel. He admits that the tape he gave to Violet was actually a total fake. The real FBI recording is still right there in the shop. And here's the kicker. It's been running all night long. It caught every confession, every shot fired, and every dirty detail of the mob's business. More than enough evidence to put both the Boyles and the LaFontaines away for a long, long time.
Everything.
Leonard hands the real tape over to Mabel and tells her to get it to the authorities. He explains that the money she took from Violet is her ticket out of this life, her way to finally see all those places in her snow globes. Mabel realizes that Leonard has basically been the director of this entire night, pulling every string to make sure she walked away safe and free.
You'd no longer be pretending, would you?
He's been the protective father figure he lost all those years ago, making sure she wouldn't meet the same fate. After Mabel heads out, Leonard starts the final step of his plan. He systematically douses his shop with flammable liquid, ready to burn his current life to the ground just like he did back in London. He's all set to disappear into the shadows and start over, but his exit gets cut short. Francis, somehow still clinging to life after getting shot, drags himself up from the floor one last time. Francis managed to squeeze off a shot that grazes Leonard's arm, but his gun clicks empty right after. Desperate and bleeding out, the enforcer pulls a knife to finish the job. That's when Leonard finally drops the mild-mannered Tailor persona for good. He rolls up his sleeves to reveal some heavy, old-school tattoos, marking him as a former high-level enforcer for a violent gang back in England. Leonard explains that he didn't leave London because of blue jeans. He left because he was a man exactly like Francis, a professional killer who was ordered to do something so sick he couldn't stomach it. He ran away to start over, but his past eventually caught up with him, leading to the fire that killed his wife and daughter. He tells Francis that he spent years trying to be a man of peace, but the world just wouldn't let him be.
I want so bad to be good.
As Francis lunges with his knife, Leonard moves with the kind of speed you only get from years of training. He parries the attack like it's nothing and drives his heavy fabric shears deep into Francis's neck, ending it right there. Leonard stands over the body for a moment, then puts on a dark coat to hide his wounds and his ink. He walks out into the snowy Chicago night, leaving the shop to go up in flames behind him.